It is time for our 3 cents on the featured topic of today, social media and kids.
So there's this new federal bill out there that aims to protect kids and get them off social media. So lawmakers are looking into address that and what mental health advocates and critics of the tech platform say is a mental health crisis that's been fueled by social media.
So the question, of course, is whether or not it's actually fueled by social media. Some argue that this bill is long overdue. Many believe that social media, though, is just an easy target and that these efforts don't really focus on the actual issue at hand.
Now we know it is so complex. So before we give you our 3 cents, let's take a closer look at what's in the bill and why some tech accountability advocates say it falls short. Here's Ivan Rodriguez now with some of those details.
A bipartisan group of senators unveiling legislation this week that would establish 13 as the national minimum age for social media use and create strict standards for verifying a user's age.
Making young people feel the very ways that we as parents and as a society don't want them to feel is built into the business model.
The proposed bill also requires parental consent for users aged 13 to 17 and bans tech platforms from using teens' personal information to target them with content or advertising.
Social media companies have a duty to help keep kids safe and parents informed or face serious consequences.
Lawmakers say the legislation is in line with guidance from the U.S. Surgeon General.
The skewed and often distorted environment of social media often does a disservice to many of those children.
Senator Richard Blumenthal is working on a separate bill to address the problem and says he has concerns about this version. Tech accountability advocates agree the bill is focused on the wrong issue.
This bill doesn't actually put any responsibility onto the tech companies. Instead, it's putting more responsibility onto parents and young people to kind of self-police.
Nicole Gill with the nonprofit Accountable Tech argues law should incentivize tech companies to redesign their platforms to protect mental health and privacy.
We have an opportunity right now to rethink the way that these platforms work for young people, and we should take it.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Okay. A lot to dive into there.
A lot of layers.
Yeah, well, real quick, the guy behind this bill said the way to get kids to linger on the platforms and to maximize profit is to upset them, make them outraged, make them agitated, make them scared, make them vulnerable, make them feel helpless. So the addiction factor to social media, the algorithms to our kids, I kind of look at how smoking was handled back in the 50s with nicotine being addictive.
Right.
Things had to change the ebb and flow of the guidelines and what was allowed and what wasn't allowed as we learned more as time went on.
Right.
We're learning more as time has gone on with social media and the harmful effects on our kids. Is it time to put forth a bill that sets an age limit? And is 13 the right number? I don't know whether that's the issue, but I know it's affecting our kids and it's harming them, and something needs to be done.
I also think that the verification process is really important because so many, you know, when I was making a Facebook or a Twitter or whatever it was, there were no verification requirements on your age. You put your birthday and now you have a Twitter account. So if they're actually going to be checking, say, IDs, that's a whole different situation. Are you 13 and you submit your ID to Twitter to get an account? Are parents actually going to be on top of that? Or are you going to have a handful of kids that are following it and then a handful of kids that are not, that are 11 with a Facebook?
And I mean, right now, I think because there are so many kids who have Instagram accounts, I mean, I'm surprised to see 8-, 9-year-olds with Instagram accounts. And it says, you know, my parents are in charge of this account. But still, I mean, they could be, I don't know, going into their messages,
still have access at least.
And to at least be able to say, hey, kids, you can't have this. It's the law now. Might give parents that, like, ability. I mean, parents should be able to tell their kids whatever they want. But at some point, it's the law. No, you're not going to get this until way later in life when you're more mature. Because their brains are still adjusting.
Totally. And how much time they're on there is a problem. In fact, one of the studies, they looked at 50 students, and there were kids that were spending 3 to 4 hours a day on average, some spending 7 hours on there.
And that's just your phone versus the computer screen, the TV. and that can just add up so much. So yeah, I mean, I think obviously if I were a parent, I would want to limit my kids' access to it. I do remember, of course, being a teenager and wanting to spend more time on the computer and on my phone, but
parents say no, and you listen, and that's the goal. But now sometimes legally they have to get involved or make it more of a limit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this bill, and we will be following the next steps in the process here, and whether 13-year-olds will have to pass stricter tests and won't be allowed on it.